afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for attending this session today. Hello, everyone. My name is Katie. I work for the BBC Worldwide team, and I'm the Vice President for BBC Advertising for North Asia and Greater China. Well, first of all, before our going down to the truth part of our presentation, let's take a look at these very iconic pictures from the 60s. This was a typical family living room where TV was the centerpiece of abounding family activity. And this is a 2017 living room where the families are still together, trying to bond, but obviously distracted by their own screens. Indeed, broadcasting business has come a long way since it was first aired in 1928. In today's cluttered media world, does broadcast still hold a strong future among the audiences? Does broadcast business have audiences' attention, if still? And if yes, what the future looks like for the broadcasters? In the next 30 minutes, I hope you are all sitting comfortably while we are going to discuss some uncomfortable truths of broadcast. Uncomfortable truth number one, millennials actually watch more TV than you think. You might be wondering, why do I care about the millennials? There are plenty of reasons. For one, they are the largest generations in the history that is about to move into its prime spending years. Millennials are poised to reshape the economy. Their unique experiences will change the way we buy and sell, forcing companies and brands to examine how they do business for the decades to come, broadcasters included. Can I just have a show of hands for the guests in this room? If you are born after 1980, please raise your hand. Oh, thank you. It's about 35% of the room. And congratulations, you are officially the most coveted consumer of all time. The millennial generation is the largest cohort, a total 950 million of them globally. And in Asia Pacific, there is 615 million. They are often perceived as self-entitled, narcissistic individuals, but they love their phone. They love their phone, but they hate talking on them. They are the first digital natives generation, as they have grown up with the internet and smartphone in always-on digital world. They value experiences, sometimes over money and material things. They are the driving force enabling what's called sharing economy. You might be familiar with Uber and Airbnb. They are heavily reliant on word of mouth and a review. The millennials, if I ask you, where do you think is the best place to reach them? I guess the majority here will probably say on social media, yes? And even if millennials do consume news, it's most likely from the digital-born providers, such as Vice News and BuzzFeed. I think that is a lot of people's perception, and we didn't know if that's true or not. So BBC, as one of the most respected and with the longest history broadcaster in the world, who is about to celebrate our centennial in a few years, is determined to understand this particular generation of audiences. Let's take a look.
Marketeers always sought to define groups of consumers with labels. Millennials is the latest group advertisers are looking to reach. Young, influential, and attractive to brands. This group are also viewed with cynicism by some. And with almost 950 million of them out there, it's easy to see why. One vast homogenized group of 16 to 34-year-olds, it's obvious they aren't all the same. So if a brand wants to attract this group, how can they be confident they're talking to the right people? By carrying out research in over 30 countries, BBC World News and BBC.com set out to understand more about millennials. Firstly, we applied the filter of affluence. This high capital group make up just 16% of millennials as a whole. But why are we so interested in them? We discovered that the majority of millennials, the other 84%, have a mindset just like all non-millennials. But affluent millennials are different. Even so, not all affluent millennials are the same. The crowd are most similar to the non-affluent millennial group. They aren't commercially receptive and don't have a personal relationship with brands. They merge back into millennials and non-millennials. The understated are wealthy and do spend money, but only have a fleeting relationship with brands and aren't advocate for them on social media or via word of mouth. However, the supercharged stand out from the rest. A very specific tribe of affluent millennials. They define themselves by the brands they buy much more than most 16 to 34-year-olds. They feel emotionally connected to them, even consider them as friends. 84% agree that their favorite brand plays an integral role in their life. 76% say they are defined by the brands they purchase. These consumers are forward-thinking opinion leaders, happy to share their thoughts on brands. They are concerned about two subjects, the environment and the economy. They have a unique relationship with money. It's what defines who they are and how they behave. They want to be globally connected, so international news providers play an important role in their lives, helping them decipher the world and cut through the noise. And choosing a news provider, trust is one of the most important qualities the supercharged look for. That's why many of them come to us. From now on, not only can you plan against these audiences, you'll also be able to buy campaigns on bbc.com directly targeting them. Confident, worldly brand ambassadors. Reach affluent millennials with the BBC.
So as you can see, the millennials globally still watch TV, and they have a stronger relationship with traditional news organization than with digital news brand, digital native news brand. And 72% of them say they consume more international news than they used to. I'm sure some of you will be surprised that the likes of the BBC and CNN reach far many more of this group of audiences than Twitter and Instagram. Supposedly, youth brands such as BuzzFeed and Vice just don't feature significantly in this affluent millennial repertoire. And out of 40% of the affluent millennial, they discover news from 24-hour news TV channels. The reality we know is, even though they spend time watching TV news channel, they do constantly are connected on their mobile phone, and they consume a huge amount of video content. But from the broadcaster perspective, to make it really work for the millennials, it's not simply put the broadcast video onto the mobile app. You have to go one step further. So as a result, BBC created Video of the Day on the BBC News app. All the videos are created specifically with smartphone user in mind. The videos are succinct and sharply edited, designed to be viewed vertically in full screen and have subtitle. The upgrade is just one of the fruits of Project Newsstream, our BBC's initiative to adapt BBC video journalism to the mobile era with mobile first always on the mind. Well, this is a little bit painful to watch, but I think you have got the idea from the screenshots just now. So basically, every day, BBC News app will publish the top 8 videos that you have to watch of the day. And each video is less than 45 seconds. And it's not a horizontal anymore, it's being edited into a vertical format. And then with subtitle, because sometimes when we watch video on mobile phone, we don't want to switch on the audio. So this product has been launched for 4 months now, and has been received overwhelming responses from our consumers. The uncomfortable truth number 2, not only broadcast news is going to make the video journalism works for the millennial, the new generation of audiences, broadcast news also has a need to hold power to account. In 2016, we were flooded by news, and you can confidently predict that the unpredictable will continue in 2018 and 2017. Few people thought that it would be possible for these 3 things to have happened. Just how unlikely were they? You can see the odds here. At the start of 2016, if you had laid a £10 bet on Leicester winning the premiership, Trump becoming US president, and Britain vote to leave the EU, you would have made £45 million on that bet. These events, particularly the last 2, are what have an impact on the economy and thus consumer sentiment. There are also real-world factors contributing to a deep sense of unease and anger. The top 3 are economy, terrorism, and immigration. The development of unpredictable global events, coupled with general fear and anxiety, have an implication on keeping up to date with international news. But it can be hard to know what to really believe. Fake news was on the rise since 2016. Donald Trump has pushed the fake news to the forefront, as well as highlighted the influence it can bring. By criticizing the media for stories he has rightfully or wrongfully claimed untrue. These stories have ranged from he was born in Pakistan, which is false, and that he said in 1998 that Republicans were dumb. Again, this turns out to be a fake news. At the same time, social media has made it easier than ever to connect with people who feel the same as you do. The tendency for news consumption to reinforce one's belief is nothing new. But social media is a major step forward towards a greater fragmentation. Social media enables members of a shared interest group to strengthen each other's belief by shutting out contradictory information from echo chamber where beliefs which have little or no foundation in fact can prosper. It's not just the fact that people can cluster in like-minded groups that makes social media a key factor in post-truth politics. It is also the way the news reach social media. Filter bubble refers to, Filter bubble refers to how the news feed and the search results served up by the likes of Google and Facebook are personalized using algorithms which select content similar to users' previous liked content. The bottom line is that social media distort how participants see the world, and a different interest group end up living in different factual universes. Ultimately, what happened is summed up quite nicely by this comic strip. So, I have heard the rhetoric from both sides. Time to do my own research on the real truth. Literally, the first link that agrees with what you already believe pop up on Google. Jackpot, you think you have found the truth, but actually the search result was showed because of the algorithm they calculated based on your past reading behavior. So I hyper-connect the world, and the ever-growing selection of media choices are enabling fake news story to spread and travel fast. A BuzzFeed news analysis was done on the recent US during the month leading up to the election day. The top 20 performing false election story from Hawk's Site and Harvard Partisan blogs generated 8.7 million shares. News from the mainstream media, which are true, only generated 7.3 million interactions in comparison. The phenomenon of fake news is distinctly not isolated to US and Europe. In APAC, we see that the majority of consumers, close to 4 in 5 people, are concerned about fake news. According to a global study BBC just released last month, speaking to more than 1,000 news audiences globally. Nearly 2 in 3 consumers find it hard to distinguish real from fake news online. In fact, we have some quotes from the audiences later on. You can just hear a small insight into how news consumer in APAC has shown a heightened awareness of need for trust and credibility from the broadcast news. When there are breaking news events, international news TV channels are the first place consumers go to. Stacked up against the other type of media channel, international news TV are the leading source on breaking news. Almost 67% of consumers refer to it as either the first or the second choice, more than any other sources. Online as a whole, including website, news app, news aggregator, and social media, are referred to by only 56% of news consumers. If the story is firstly discovered through social media, international news TV is referred to next as the alternative source for fact-checking, digging deeper into the story. International news online follows after international news on the TV. So let's hear what our respondents of the global survey has said. One millennial female audiences said, coverage on news channel is more concise, better to hear it than spending time reading online. Also, you know that the information is accurate. News online may not be 100% true. And we also spoke to a middle-aged Australian news audiences who told us online there's so much to sift through and sometimes hard to differentiate from fake news. Of course, not all broadcasters are trusted equally. Many of us need to work harder to earn audiences' trust. And the news consumer, they do trust the BBC as the most trusted news organization in the world. It's a quality and a trait we have been very proud for the last 90 plus years. As a broadcaster, we all have a paramount responsibility in today's world to help audience deepen their understanding of news in this confusing time. Being the first to break news shouldn't be the chase these days anymore. It's not about rating anymore. We need to have a purpose. We need to explain what drives the news. We need a slow news, news with more depth, data, investigation, analysis, expertise to help us explain the world we are living in. In fact, this quote is from James Harding, Director General of the BBC News and Current Affairs, said, "Slow news means weighing in on the battle over lies, distortion, and exaggerations in the news. The BBC can't edit the entire internet, but we won't stand aside either." This is a very popular front page of one of the most circulated newspaper in the UK, The Sun. And one of its front page during the EU referendum had caused one of the biggest rows of the EU referendum campaign and prompted a successful complaint to the press regulator by the Buckingham Palace. Laura, our BBC political editor on the left, has actually heard the news herself, but decided not to report it. This is because the BBC generally requires a story to be double-sourced before it can run. So if we hear a news story from one single source, we are usually not in a place to publish it until it's verified by another resource. Angelina Jolie also chose the BBC over rivals because they trust that BBC can tell a story. She shares his perspective on populism with Yoda Hakim, our lead presenter of the World News program.
We are seeing this rise of populist leaders right around the world. Do you think it's creating a more intolerant society?
This is an old trick, and we should know better to fall for it. And I see it rising, and the only thing I can do is to use my voice and encourage others and raise my children to know right and wrong and to have a broad view of the world and to embrace their diversity and other people's and respect others. And I think that's all we can do now, is each and every person, each one of your listeners, we all just have to be the best of ourselves. If not now more than ever, we really have to rise up and find our rational center, our who are we and what do we stand for, and we know it. We know what's right and wrong.
News organizations are often mistrusted these days. This is an excerpt from a recent press conference demonstrating Trump's view on the media and how BBC's journalist Jon Sopel defending the BBC position. I'm going to play the video here, but if in case this is the excerpt from the conversation.
Where are you from?
BBC.
Here's another beauty.
It's a good line. Impartial, free and fair.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. President.
Just like CNN, right?
On the travel ban, we could banter back and forth. On the travel ban, would you accept that that was a good example of the smooth running of government?
Yeah, I do. Let me tell you about the travel ban. Wait. I know who you are. Just wait. Let me tell you about the travel ban. We had a very smooth rollout of the travel ban, but we had a bad court.
So, it's our inescapable responsibility these days to combat fake news. The BBC will weigh in on the battle over fake news by continuing its innovative reality check assessment when it identifies claims without foundation and deliberately misleading stories masquerading as news. Reality Check took off in 2016 as a fact-checking service during the UK's EU referendum, and now it has an expanded permanent team dedicated to creating content which examines the facts and the claims behind a story to determine whether or not it's true. The feature will run on a variety of formats across the BBC TV, radio, and online. We reality check stories ranging from is banning Turkish rallies EU policy to has North Korea become a greater threat to who released the Guantanamo re-offenders claimed by the President Trump. So now moving on to uncomfortable truth number 3. Ensuring brand safety is more challenging and critical than ever for marketeers in today's mistrusting world. What part does news have to play in building brand trust? Our research proves these advertisers do have a cause of concern, as 62% consumers say they are being associated with untrusted media will negatively affect their perception of a brand. Brands are threatened by being seen alongside untrustworthy content and extremist content. An important factor in helping brands maximize their credibility is knowing which platform to associate with. And the sound reputation of a channel or a website proves to have a halo effect on the brand's consideration and credibility. At least 60% to 65% consumers are more inclined to consider and trust a brand and read the content about brand when it is appearing on a channel or website that they trust. So now the market and the marketeers have found a trusted environment to tell the story. How do they actually tell the story? The uncomfortable truth number 4, the end of the linear storytelling is already here. We all know storytelling in today's media space had changed from "Are you sitting comfortably?" to the multimedia orchestra. Broadcasters like the BBC have always known about this, but the way we tell story has significantly changed over time as new platforms develop. Today, broadcasters leverage multi-channels and real-time audience interaction to explore more deeply what stories means and how it resonates with the audience. Here is another video of a breaking through BBC program called Outside Source. Let's take a look.
At the touch of a button, I can show you all of the latest reports, live feeds and footage coming into the BBC newsroom, and I can speak to our correspondents all around the world. Hi, Lise.
Hello, Ross.
As well as that, I can show you the latest pictures that we get on all of the main stories of the day. As they come to us, I'll show them to you. As people post their opinions and their experiences on social media, you'll see that too. And if there's a big breaking story in the BBC newsroom, as we get the information, you'll get it too. This is news at our fingertips, Outside Source, Monday to Thursday, live on BBC World News.
So this is just one example that from the editorial program content front, how the broadcaster changed the way they tell story in the multimedia orchestra. So how do brands, some of you who sit here, utilize the wealth of screens, platforms, and tactics that have the power to transform how we tell the stories? So here are the 4 pillars I would like to share with you today. Challenge expectation, deliver drama, ignite imaginations, and connect emotions. The element of surprise challenges the audience to listen more carefully. They don't always know what will happen next. So human beings generally assume that they know the way things will work out, that they can calculate outcomes and predict what happens next. When something alerts us to the fact that we may not know what's happening next, we are compelled to listen more carefully. The neuroscientific term for this is Zeigarnik effect, whereby our brain pays a whole lot more level of different attention to something that appears incomplete, or which you can't easily complete in our own mind. And from this, the viewer or the listener gains a completely new perspective and then gained a new value. So the element of surprise challenges your expectation and then present everything in completely different light and then driving a deeper connection to the story. The second pillar, deliver drama. Even great stories won't work if they are related in very dull monotone. A sense of drama is inherent to a good storytelling. How do we deliver drama? And this sense of drama relies upon the storyteller's emotional understanding of the audiences. What scares, excites, intrigues, or enrages them? The third pillar, ignite imaginations. Allow the audience to guide you, encourage and enable discoverability to help the audience shape your story. The engaging of passion and curiosity can happen in different ways. A story can resonate from the start with what the audience knows or what the audience is capable of imagining. The best story has both. In order to do so, they must be rooted in an understanding of the audience themselves. What matters to the particular people, what's their experiences and expectations, what's their motivation and priorities. The last pillar, and the most important pillar, connect emotions. The narrative is the backbone of the story's plot, but it only becomes a story when it's told in a way that engages passion and curiosity and bring the potential emotion connection to life. Our stories need to take you somewhere special. They need to be escapist to an extent. They need to teach you something. They need to come away feeling that you have learned something new. They need to be relevant to you so that you are naturally interested. And they need to carry some sort of sense of empathy with them so that you feel an emotional connection. That's the core currency in terms of storytelling. Let's take a quick look at how the BBC tells stories under these 4 pillars in today's multimedia orchestra.
It's not a question a journalist often asks. What's gone right?
When you want to truly engage a global audience, you need to tell stories in new ways.
I think we're living in a journalistic world which is completely story-centric. It's all about the story.
Getting closer to them.
Today we're asking you, do you think couture fashion is worth the price tag?
This is BBC Pop-Up. We journey from country to country, turning your story ideas into short, beautiful films.
Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear from you. Get in touch with the Newsday team by tweeting at BBC News Asia.
We deliver a more personalised news service than ever before, reaching 250 million people every week, finding new perspectives.
It's like he's enjoying himself up there.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to come down.
Across all our content.
This is a room that produced some of the great paintings of the 20th century.
The Porsche team celebrated an historic victory.
And to be the best, obviously, you have to beat the best. And that was Jack.
From the French Riviera, the Cannes Film Festival.
Adapting to the changing needs of our audience.
Welcome to this live stream from the BBC Newsroom. If you're watching on the BBC News website or on our app, you can see Sandra joining us from the US, Kwame from Ghana.
With newsroom values at our core, our stories are more innovative.
We're going to make the entire programme using just mobile devices, filming and editing.
Authentic.
They're about to do what is called Yaramashi, which is a really dangerous corner turn.
Shareable. And inspiring.
There's a whale right there. Talk of the devil.
Let us tell your story in 2016.
Better is always possible. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, we have accumulated more than 90 years of knowledge for the newsroom on how to best tell a story. And then we have adopted digital transition and transformation to tell the story in the multimedia orchestra. And we would love to leverage that expertise and knowledge to our brands and get them to benefit from working with us. In 2015, during the Cannes Advertising Festival, BBC launched the BBC Storyworks, our in-house studio, creative studio that is focused and specialized in creating branded content for advertisers and brands has launched. And in the last 2 years, it has driven so many success. And let's take a look of the video of what we have done for one global tech giant from China, Huawei. Can we play the video from the control desk?
My name is John Bramlett. I've been an artist all my life. I've been blind for 14 years.
My name is Monica Grady. I'm involved with the Rosetta mission.
My name is Alex Honnold. I'm a professional rock climber.
My name is Erica Kochi. I've always wanted to do something to help the most remote and the hardest to reach.
Going blind is the most difficult thing. I felt like I was at the bottom of a well. I wasn't going to stand for it.
a reflection of true danger is a very helpful, useful tool.
People told us that we were crazy. That just made me want to work harder.
A mission like Rosetta might seem almost as if it were a mission impossible.
But you've got to push your ideas forward. You've got to have the courage of your convictions.
I'd like the legacy of this work to be that the most disadvantaged, the most excluded, are included.
Every day that I paint, my life is filled with color. And the more that I paint, the brighter it is.
There's no real room for half measures. Now I'm doing it. Now I'm committed. Now it's happening.
Well, that's a lovely video. Just sum up our presentation today and give you a good demonstration of how to use the 4 pillars in storytelling. And I'm going to open up the floor right now in case you have any questions. This is what usually happens. Can I just also have a show of hand for the room, for the delegates in the room, please? How many of you actually found out the Manchester terrorism attack from social media? Can you please raise your hand? We have 2. Okay. And how many of you actually believed in that is what happened before you're verifying the news from another sources? Yeah, I don't see any show of hand now. Yes, so the whole point of the BBC and the whole point of the slow news is really to help audiences to understand what's real fake news and what's the real truth. Thank you for your attending today, and I hope you find it useful. Thank you.